When we hear the word success, many people immediately think of luck, chance, being in the right place at the right time. They imagine that wealthy entrepreneurs just stumbled into money, that Olympic athletes were born with natural talent, or that great leaders were simply destined to rise. But this is a dangerous illusion. The truth is that success in any field is not random. It is the product of predictable laws and principles, laws as real and as unbreakable as gravity. If you climb a tall building and step off, gravity does not care if you are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, prepared or unprepared. The law pulls you down. In the same way, the laws of success are impersonal, predictable, and universal. They do not care who you are. They simply respond to what you do. To understand this, let us first examine why so many people believe success is a matter of chance. Think about the language we often hear. She got lucky with that business deal. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. They were just at the right place at the right time. While there may be elements of timing or circumstances in any achievement, the deeper reality is that those who achieve consistently follow patterns. They make decisions in line with certain principles. When you study them closely, you begin to see that their results are not accidents at all. They are consequences. The illusion of randomness. Let's use an analogy. Imagine walking into a casino. At first, it looks like people are winning and losing randomly. The slot machines flash, the roulette wheels spin, the dice roll. Some people cheer, others groan. To the casual observer, it seems like pure luck. But beneath the surface, the casino operates on strict mathematical laws called probabilities. The house always wins because the system is designed that way. Success in life is similar. To the casual observer, it looks like luck. But behind the scenes, those who succeed are aligning their behavior with the probabilities. They are applying the laws of success consistently, and therefore the house, in this case, life itself, delivers results in their favor. The law of cause and effect, the most fundamental law of success, is the law of cause and effect. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by accident. Every effect in your life has a cause, whether visible or invisible. If you plant seeds of wheat, you will not harvest apples. If you take consistent action toward your goals, you will not end up empty-handed. This was a revelation for me in my early years. I once struggled in sales, making little progress despite my best efforts. At first, I blamed the economy, the customers, even bad luck. But when I studied successful salespeople, I realized they followed certain causes. They prospected daily, they rehearsed their presentations, they asked for referrals, and they managed their time with precision. When I began to copy their causes, I started experiencing their effects. My income doubled, then tripled. It was not magic, it was cause and effect. This principle can be frightening, but it is also liberating. If your current results are not what you want, you do not need to wait for luck. You only need to change your causes. By aligning your actions with the laws of success, you can predictably create better outcomes. The law of attraction and focus. Another law is the law of attraction, which states that you attract into your life the people, ideas, and circumstances that are in harmony with your dominant thoughts. Like a magnet, your mind pulls in what you focus on most consistently. For example, and have you ever noticed how when you buy a new car, suddenly you see that same model everywhere? Did the cars suddenly appear? Of course not. They were always there, but your focus made you notice them. Success works in the same way. When you set clear goals and keep them in your mind daily, you begin to notice opportunities and connections that were invisible before. This is not mysticism. It is neuroscience. Your brain has a system called the reticular activating system, RAS. Its job is to filter billions of bits of information every second and only let in what matters to you. If you focus on problems, your RAS filters the world for problems. If you focus on success, your RAS filters the world for solutions and opportunities. I remember writing down one of my early goals to become a top speaker and trainer. At the time, I had no idea how it would happen. But because the goal was written, my RAS began to filter opportunities. I noticed seminars, training programs, and speaking events I had ignored before. One thing led to another, and slowly, step by step, I entered the world I had once only dreamed of. That is the law of attraction at work, the law of practice and repetition. Another universal law is the law of practice. Whatever you practice repeatedly, you become better at. Skills are not gifts, they are built. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master stumbled through the basics. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not talent. It is practice. Think of a concert pianist. We admire their skill on stage, but behind that performance are thousands of hours of repetitive practice. The same applies to athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Success does not appear suddenly. It is the accumulated result of small repetitions over time. This means that anyone, regardless of background, can improve. If you are willing to practice discipline, communication, leadership, or resilience, you will get better. And because you get better, opportunities will begin to flow toward you. The law of belief. One of the most powerful success principles is the law of belief. Whatever you believe with conviction becomes your reality. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Your beliefs act like self-fulfilling prophecies. If you believe you cannot succeed, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself. You will avoid risks, give less effort, and quit earlier. If you believe you can succeed, you will persist longer, try harder, and notice solutions others overlook. I once mentored a young man who was convinced he could never be a good salesperson because he was too shy. That belief crippled him. I encouraged him to adopt a new belief. I am learning to communicate with confidence. With practice, he slowly began to improve. Within 2 years, he was not only successful in sales, but he was leading a team. His belief shaped his destiny. Personal story. From laborer to leader, allow me to share a personal story that illustrates these laws in action. When I was younger, I worked labor jobs, washing dishes, digging ditches, loading trucks. I had no education, no connections, and no money. I thought life was a game of chance. Then I discovered the law of cause and effect. If I did what successful people did, I could succeed too. So I began to read books on sales, time management, and psychology. I practiced what I learned daily. I failed often, but each failure gave me feedback. Slowly, my income increased. I moved from laborer to salesman, from salesman to manager, and eventually to entrepreneur and speaker. Nothing about my background suggested this was possible. I was not lucky. I simply aligned myself with the laws of success, clarity, practice, discipline, and belief and persistence. And just like gravity, they worked for me. They will work for you too. The predictability of success. Here's the most exciting truth. Once you understand these laws, you can predict your future. Just as an engineer can calculate whether a bridge will stand, you can calculate whether your actions will lead to success. If you are clear about your goals, disciplined in your actions, persistent in the face of failure, and committed to learning, your success is inevitable. If you drift without clarity, make excuses, quit at the first setback, and avoid growth, failure is inevitable. Success is a science. It is not an accident. Call to action now. Let me challenge you. Look at your life honestly. What results are you experiencing right now? They are not random. They are the effects of specific causes. Your habits, thoughts, and actions. If you want new results, you must create new causes. Write down your goals. Focus your mind on them daily. Practice the skills required. Discipline yourself to act consistently. And above all, believe it is possible. Because the laws of success do not discriminate. They work for everyone who applies them, including you. One of the greatest tragedies in life is that most people drift. They wake up every morning, go to work, pay their bills, and survive day after day without ever deciding what they really want from life. They live like ships without rudders, pushed around by the winds of circumstances, tossed by the waves of other people's expectations. But success, real success, begins with clarity. It begins the moment you stop drifting and say, "This is what I want. This is where I am going. This is the life I will build." If success is a science, then clarity is the formula that sets everything in motion. It is the difference between wandering aimlessly and marching purposefully toward a destination. Without clarity, energy is wasted. With clarity, every thought, every action, and every resource is aligned like a laser beam, cutting through obstacles and creating results. Why clarity is rare. Think about the average person you know. Ask them, what do you really want out of life? And you'll often get vague answers. I just want to be happy. I want to make more money. I'd like a better job. These answers are like saying, I want to go somewhere. Where exactly? How will you know when you arrive? The lack of specifics is the reason so many people never achieve their dreams. I learned this lesson personally when I was young. At the time, I was struggling financially, working in low-paying jobs, and feeling frustrated. One day, a mentor asked me, Brian, what exactly do you want? I said, I want to make more money. He smiled, reached into his pocket, pulled out a coin and handed it to me. Fear, he said, you now have more money. Is that what you meant? That moment hit me like lightning. I realized I had been vague, and as a result, life had been vague in its rewards. From that day forward, I committed to clarity, the GPS of life. Imagine getting into your car, turning on the GPS and saying, take me somewhere nice. What would happen? The GPS would be useless. It requires an exact destination to calculate the route. Life works the same way. Clarity is your GPS. The moment you set a clear destination, your brain, the most powerful computer in the universe, begins to calculate. It notices opportunities, connects dots, and guides you step by step toward your goal. Without clarity, you drift. With clarity, you drive. The science behind clarity. The human brain has an incredible filtering system called the reticular activating system, RAS. Its job is to filter the billions of bits of information we encounter every day and allow in only what is relevant to us. Here's how it works. Imagine you decide to buy a red car. Suddenly, everywhere you go, you see red cars. Were they always there? Of course. But now your brain notices them because you set a clear intention. This is why clarity is so powerful. When you define exactly what you want, your RAS tunes your perception to notice resources, people, and opportunities that align with that goal. Without clarity, your brain has no filter, and you miss 90% of the opportunities around you. The law of clarity. There is a universal law that says, the clearer you are about what you want, the more likely you are to get it. Think of two people. One says, I want to be successful. The other says, I want to earn 100,000 this year through my business by providing marketing services to 10 clients who each pay me 10,000 annually. Who do you think will succeed faster? The second person has clarity. Their mind knows the target, and every action can now be measured against that target. Clarity transforms dreams into plans and plans into results. The power of written goals. Clarity becomes even more powerful when you put it in writing. Studies have shown that people who write down their goals are far more likely to achieve them than those who keep them in their heads. Why? Because writing crystallizes thought. It transforms vague wishes into tangible commitments. It also programs your subconscious mind to begin working on those goals day and night. I made it a habit to write down my goals daily. Not once a year, not once a month, daily. I write them as if they are already achieved. This practice sharpens my clarity, fuels my motivation, and directs my actions. Once, I wrote down a goal to give seminars around the world. At the time, I was struggling to get speaking engagements in my own city. But because the goal was written, my mind went to work. Within a few years, I was traveling to dozens of countries, speaking to audiences of thousands. That is the power of clarity in writing. The why behind the what, but clarity is not only about what you want. It is equally about why you want it. Your reasons are the fuel behind your goals. A weak why leads to weak motivation. A strong why creates unstoppable drive.